Commissioner Jimenez,
Present.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Present.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Here.
Chair Shively.
Here. We can have a brief moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Hammond.
Will you please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have no presentation at this time. If we can go to item 6, consent calendar. Any commissioner have any items or revisions that need to be done for the meeting minutes for May 20th?
None.
Hernandez and Jimenez, any corrections for meeting minutes?
None on my end, no.
None on my end either.
If we can have a motion, Hernandez and Jimenez, you'll have to do a verbal if needed.
I will
Have
put
a
it in motion.
Motion from Vice Chair Hammond. We need a second.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
The vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Moving on to item 7A, it's a tentative parcel map 19-05 303 PM 37760 and conditional use permit 19-05 301. It's a proposal to subdivide an existing 13-acre commercial parcel within the Spectrum Shopping Center, aka the old Walmart site, to facilitate the development of a 5,200 square foot multi-tenant building and a 2,200 square foot fast food restaurant along the west frontage of Paris Boulevard north of Orange Avenue. The applicant is Aiku Shimimura and ADA Architects, Inc. Do we have any ex parte communications?
Just the usual. Commissioner Hammond, I better say it. Visiting the site. No communication as usual.
I've driven past the site, know the site pretty well.
I know the site pretty well. I drive by there very frequently.
None on my part. Oh, Hernandez.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready for a presentation.
Good evening, Chair and Vice Chair, members of the Planning Commission, and extended staff. This evening, we have before you the Spectrum Center conditional use permit. Here we have an aerial image with the surrounding land uses of the subject site. Currently, as stated, it is the old Walmart shopping center, which is part of the Spectrum Center. Currently, the project location site is a developed empty parking lot. It is part of the 13-acre site, which is just north of Orange Avenue and west of Paris Boulevard. The subject site is zoned for commercial community, which is consistent with the general plan land use designation. To the south and to the west is still part of the center and is consistent with the general plan and is also zoned for commercial community. And to the north and to the east is zoned for multifamily residential 14, which is also consistent with its land use designation. Here are some images of the subject site as it stands today as a parking lot. This image was taken from what was the old Walmart Garden Center entrance area, looking south, which would be the north face of the multi-tenant building. Here we have before you is a panoramic view of the interior parking lot area, which will be the west side of the center. This is an image which will be the view of the south side of the center, which is just north of the Taco Bell and the south entrance to the center from Paris Boulevard. This image cannot be taken any credibility by myself. This is an image from Google Earth Street View. Nevertheless, it's a view from Paris Boulevard looking east to the subject site. In addition, those fleets of vans are no longer there either. Here is an 5,200 square foot multi-tenant building, which will be located to the north, and a 2,200 square foot fast food restaurant, which will be located to the south. Both areas already have full access to Paris Boulevard. The northern area will be from a controlled traffic light, and to the center or to the south will be from a right in and right out with an improved median. Here's a site plan with the landscape enhancements that are being proposed. This is a compliance development matrix that staff has put together that pretty much breaks down the development standards and how the project has met and even exceeded the development standards of the community commercial zone with respect to structure height, lot coverage, setbacks, etc. These are some computer rendering perspectives that the applicant has provided us. Staff is very pleased that the architect has provided full articulation of architectural details to the project, which we think is going to be a great enhancement for the center. These are 2D elevations of the multi-tenant building. Again, you can see the 360-degree architectural treatments that the architect has provided with the stone veneer, the breakdown of the building heights, the soft use of the earth tone colors as well, and the use of the metal shade structures. These are north and south elevations of the multi-tenant building. These are 2D elevations of the fast food restaurant that currently is a shell of a building. Again, carrying out the same architectural consistency. This is an image of the tentative parcel map. Again, the goal is to subdivide the current 13-acre site into 3 parcels. One parcel will be for the multi-tenant building, which will consist of parcel 2. Parcel 1 would be the fast food restaurant, and the remainder will go to parcel 3, which is the Walmart Center, or the Walmart building. With that said, staff's recommendation is for the Planning Commission this evening to adopt PC Resolution 2010, finding that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA under Class 32 for infill development, approving the tentative parcel map and conditions of approval and conditional use permit, to facilitate the development of the multi-tenant building and the fast food restaurant based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval. In addition, Commissioners, if I may, for the record, read that staff provided you an addendum to the conditions of approval that you have before you. These would go in the prior to final map recordation section, and it is done prior to final map application, which has to deal with reciprocal access agreement for all 3 parcels, which is very common for commercial centers of this type. That concludes my presentation this evening. I am here for any questions that the Commission may have. Also, Mr. John Dodson, the project architect, is here this evening to provide any further clarification that the Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Jimenez?
So just to clarify, there would be two new buildings, and what's now standing as the old Walmart will be converted into the multi-tenant parcel.
That's correct. Currently, the Walmart has one single lot that's 13 acres. They're subdividing so that the two lots, the fronts along Paris Boulevard, have their own individual parcel for the multi-tenant building and then for the fast food restaurant.
So it's a swap meet, right? Multi-tenant. Because I think I saw 424 or something like that. Tenants?
No, the swap meet is just north, or would be just west of the old Walmart building. So the current Walmart building is vacant right now.
Right. But isn't it going to be multi-tenant with 424 spaces?
Oh, parking spaces. Oh,
Or is that for parking spaces,
Yeah.
not for?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. If you-
I didn't see anywhere on there on how many spaces it was going to get broken into.
The project location is requiring 64 parking spaces and currently is going to be providing 72.
No, the Walmart section, parcel number 3, I think is what it was identified as. Is that also going to be broken down into smaller pieces, or is that going to be used as one whole location? I guess I'm trying to get clarification how that big existing building now is going to be used.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be just left alone. That's not being manipulated in any way. It's just
Okay.
kept as its own lot.
So it would be the building, the two new ones, the multi-tenant and the fast food restaurant, off to the side, closer to Paris Boulevard.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, where am I?
Any additional questions? Hernandez,
Oh, okay.
you have questions for staff?
No questions for me on first staff right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, this just clarification, nothing wrong. Oh, and incidentally, Liz had mentioned that. Liz, I think if you're listening, is probably, and I could be wrong, similar to the Super Walmart where you have Chipotle and you have Biology, all the places I like. and
Oh,
the-
perfect, thank you.
yeah, that kind of building. It seems to be the
Okay.
same kind of design. So, not
That
that I'm
That's
now I'm
an
getting hungry, right?
It's
I need
that
to
time.
stop. Okay, my one question, and it's in the design. I don't know if you have a picture of it in the conceptual landscape plan, but it talks about a trellis, a pedestrian walkway. Now, is that going to be covered trellis in just sections of it, or the whole thing's going to be covered? And that may be a developer question. I'm not sure, but I see where you have sections of it that have trees, but it's going to be wide open, and you just come under a framework. It'd be better if it all was covered, but that's my opinion. But how is that going to work? Maybe the developer might want to answer that. But was that the plan, to make that
Yeah.
an all covered pedestrian walkway,
It won't be solid cover. It'll be a trellis
Right,
with
right.
slats.
all the way across though?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we've seen the architect and myself. We worked on this, and we've seen this in other commercial centers
Yeah.
that provides great walkability for the visitors to go from one building
Yeah.
to another one in a safe manner without having to have visitors go through the parking lot.
Right.
You know, heaven forbid a mother with her child or a
Right.
person in a wheelchair have to go through the parking lot.
Right.
And we feel that this will provide a safe ADA walkability point of access from point A to point B.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering if it would be all covered, like the picture they're showing here, because if it's all way covered all the way, except for that one opening from where you leave the multi-tenant building, this opening, but then it's covered all the way, and then it opens up again, especially when it gets 110 degrees out here. Okay.
Right.
So, and I like the concept, but I was just wondering if it's all going to be covered, not solid covered, but like you have the vines and
Yeah.
Okay. I think the other questions are answered. Okay. I'm done.
One question that I have, kind of more of a clarification. For parcel 2, we have a total of 5,200 square feet of space. The parking is required to have 250 square feet. Should that not be a required 21 spaces if we round up for, as usual, like we normally round up for other requirements? So should it not be 21? I know we already have 72 parking spaces, but should not the required spaces for parcel 2 actually be 21? If the square footage is 5,200?
Let's see.
On page 3.
I'm sorry, Chair, your question is if the 5,200 square foot building,
Should it not be 21 required parking spaces
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of 20? Because 20
Oh,
is 5,000.
Yeah, one car for 200.
oh, I see, from rounding it out from the point A, you're absolutely correct, yes. Yeah, so it would be 21, so it would be 65. Nevertheless, we do provide 72
Exactly.
parking spaces, so we're still good, but you're correct. Yeah, we can change that to 21.
And then can we clarify where'd it go? The landscaping. City right of way along the property frontage of Paris Boulevard, any former landscaping that is in disrepair will need to be replaced to the satisfaction of Public Works Department. Also, the applicant is also required to dedicate off-site landscaping areas to the city and join the landscape maintenance district. Can you clarify the actual length of landscaping that's going to be brought up to standards?
I don't have the dimension, but it's the length of the two parcels, the front Paris Boulevard. So it just, if you look at your site plan, it's just that whole length of the front Paris Boulevard.
And in what portion of it's going to actually be in the LMD? That same distance?
I believe it's probably 15 to 17 feet wide. It's in the LMD area.
Okay. And it's not going to be the entire portion along parcel 3 and these new 2 parcels?
Yeah, no, it's not part of those. That's the existing site.
Okay. All right. All right. That's the only questions I have for staff.
I
Does
have
that-
one more.
Sure. Commissioner Jimenez?
Thank you. I was just wondering about the color scheme, just because I know that the new developments we did with the new Walmart, you knew I was going to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
The color schemes that we have with the new developments with the lighter colors and more grays instead of just the yellow. I just feel like the yellow looks a little bit too drab, and the browns, it just it does not accentuate the view. It doesn't really do anything for anything. I love the landscape. I know you all worked on it really hard because I was going to ask, but now I'm a little bit, now I'm leaning towards the color. I know that's a color that's in that shopping center, but do we have a color palette or anything that we recommend for anybody who wants to come and build that kind of focuses more on a general aesthetic or a more streamlined aesthetic for the city?
I think that's a question we can ask the applicant. I think they would probably entertain the idea of working with staff to change the color scheme to more reflect what's happening at the Paris de Plaza, but we can ask the applicant that question.
Okay, thank you.
If I can also piggyback that too, is one of the concerns is that this current design of building and the existing current design of the building in no way match any form or shape. I know it's more current, more broad, more current standards, more current zeitgeist on it, I guess, but it doesn't match the rest of the site. So I wonder if that could be a real issue for us as well.
I know part of staff's guidance to the applicant was to utilize some of the colors that were approved for the Fitness 19 project. But if what I'm understanding is it the yellow that doesn't go with the center?
Right.
Are the other colors okay? It's just the yellow?
It may be the yellow. I mean, if you look at the yellow, you got to look at the entire color scheme
Okay.
of everything. So,
Perhaps since this is a design from Mr. Dotson, I can let him articulate a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
You want to do it now? Or?
My name's John Dodson. I'm with RMA Davis New Love, 1330 Olympic Boulevard, Santa Monica, California. With respect to the color scheme, we're willing to work with staff. We were just directed to use the color scheme from the Fitness 19 and pick those colors up. But and my initial color scheme was a little different. With respect to the design elements, we're so far from the other building, and the building's of such a different scale, I wouldn't want to match the Walmart building in terms of the design on this.
Absolutely.
I just wanted something that was more of a scale that I thought was appropriate to the size of the building. That's why we articulated it the way we did. And we've worked with staff, since October or November on this, and articulating and adding elements to help the one, for instance, the facade facing Paris Boulevard. But we're more than willing to work with staff on changing the colors.
What was your original color scheme, if I can ask?
Soft gray. It was the off browns. I didn't have the yellow in it. Yellow's not my favorite
Okay.
color. I don't care for yellow, but we were directed to do that. It would just be we use a brown scheme, earth tones, and that would work with the rock. And then we could you just have those tower elements so that they don't stand out the same way with the yellow.
The issues that I have with some of the colors, yellows, blues, reds, as you know, when we're baking in the sun, they fade very fast and don't
Yes.
hold their color as well. So maybe we can definitely look at that.
Did
the
we
future.
have the materials board too as part of the submittal? Oh.
I
Yeah,
agree.
another problem is when we do the work in the compute and when we do the computer renderings, the colors always get skewed when you do it, and then you get it, and you're looking at either at the print or whatnot. But I'm more than willing to eliminate the yellow.
I have the same issues when I do projects of my own that sometimes you got to calibrate your printer to what your actual colors are.
Exactly.
So.
Just look at it. I imagine it's similar colors that I've seen throughout the city, and that it's like a earth tone, kind of like a tan color. After it's been in the sun, it turns into like a really ugly pink.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said with
Yeah.
like that earth tone
Yeah.
that looks kind of orangey. Once it's been in the sun for a really long time, it fades into like a really ugly pink, almost color. Like not even a peach. It turns into a weird color. So I'm thinking long term, colors that even if they fade a little with time, will still maintain the same integrity.
I did a center in Anaheim where it had much darker colors. The towers were a dark brown, and we did that project in 2009, and the colors haven't really faded on that. So it also depends on the paint you use. If you use Dunn Edwards, it should hold up better.
Yeah. Thank you. Any additional questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir. I know what you're going to ask.
What, pardon?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that before we move
I was
on
about
to
to say.
applicant questions and presentation, just kind of as a matter of procedure to create a clean break, we're still technically in the phase of asking the staff questions right now.
That is correct. Is there any additional questions for staff at this time?
No, I'm good.
Hernandez, I got one question. I'm just curious, talking about the color. Why was it, Fitness 19 colors recommended?
I thought, well, it's just a recommendation. We drove by the Fitness 19. That was the most recent project. From staff's opinion, it looked like a good color combination, and we wanted something that kind of matched what's new in the area. But that doesn't mean that the Planning Commission couldn't recommend something different or suggest something different.
I not to believe it. I think what Liz is saying in more that we're looking at bright colors. This fronts Paris Boulevard. Fitness 19 doesn't, and that's fine with Fitness 19. But this is right on Paris Boulevard. This is in a good location. If you look at the other project with Chipotle and other ones, it's raised up, little brighter colors. The Walmart here, the old Walmart here, I mean, I don't think there was any scheme at all originally, and I was here originally built. There was no scheme, just build it. And it's just, as we put this building up, it's going to set the tone, I think, for the rest. It's very dark for Wells Fargo. Del Taco did their own thing. I guess they always do their own thing with the grayish colors and things like that. So then you have a bright yellow. So you can kind of see that mismatch even there. So understand that, you know, their trademark and Del Taco, that's what they wanted. But this is being next to it is going to be front. I think that's what she's concerned, is that something bright. The yellow stands out significantly, but that was one of the main reasons. I didn't know. I mean, on paper, you're right. Once you paint, it might look different. But I think that was one of the issues. But that's the city portion. We'll get to the developer. So I'm through.
I do have one additional question for staff, if we can go to the site plan. One sheet forward, I think it was. Keep coming. There we go.
Yeah.
So, looking at the ADA accessibility on here, it looks as if there is a sidewalk that is heading on the planned west side. Looks like there's a sidewalk heading to the driveway for the stacking space of the restaurant. Is that actually a sidewalk, or is that just?
We'll need to defer to the applicant for that, for clarification.
Okay, we can wait on that. We can wait until we got. So, is any further questions for staff? No. Okay, thank you very much. Does the applicant wish to do a presentation at this time?
No, I think Alfredo pretty much presented the project as it is. The trellis is continuous, so that runs between with columns and pilasters, and the pilasters have stone bases on them, so they won't be damaged, and those will be out of steel, so they'll hold up over time. Again, we just developed something that we wanted the look to be its own look, because this is separate from the rest of the Walmart and the other buildings. So, and it's standalone in the site. So that's how we developed that. And then, yes, I'm familiar with the site, the other Walmart site, and the Wendy's is really good there. So, yeah. Well, I did the Wendy's, so. But at any rate, there were some questions about path of travel on this site. We have a path of travel between the buildings with the trellis way, and it has the ADA spaces, and then that goes through at the end, and we provide a path of travel at the Little Caesars building, or the 5,200 square foot building, that goes up and around and then connects across to the main path of travel in front of the Walmart. And then we provide a path of travel at the drive-through building that comes across to Paris Boulevard, so that we have both buildings have access to Paris Boulevard. You don't have to go through you don't have to walk the 200 feet through the trellis. And then there was a question about a sidewalk someplace. I was trying to.
No, I think that addresses that, because it looked like there's a path of travel, but the landscaping is somewhat blocking the image of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's cleared now.
And we just think it's going to be an improvement for what's there now. It's a parking lot, and now we'll have a building that's on the street, which is the way it should be.
Is there any questions for the applicant at this time? Any further questions? Commissioner Jimenez?
No
Thank
more
you.
questions, thank you.
Commissioner Hernandez?
No questions.
Commissioner Hernandez? Right, I have no questions for staff. Does any member of public wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. If we can bring it to the commissioners for discussion. Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any discussions, items that you'd like to bring up?
No items to bring up.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez?
No, I guess my only, I think after listening to everything, and my forethought is when we are developing something new like this in an area, I know we kind of want to blend it in with what's in the background, but because the Walmart is empty, this is our time to kind of establish the minimum guidelines. So when we're looking at aesthetics, when we're looking at the view of things, I really want us to think about what we want the future to look like and not just blend into what's already there. So just kind of, this is our opportunities like these are our opportunities to kind of raise the bar for our city.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, I'm going to be brief. I know that's hard to believe. I like the idea. The concept is obviously, I remember the original Walmart being built, so I've been here too long. Even the drainage then, long before these guys came on, the drainage, you'd have Lake Walmart out there. So any improvement to that area obviously is going to be better. I don't think it's going to be a raised medium like the Chipotle side, where it's raised up on the ground. I can't imagine it being that high. But the idea is a good idea. I think the veneer that the city requires on that, and I think the city's really good at capturing what we think in terms of the veneer and having stone veneer, what a difference that makes instead of just a blank building. So because it fronts Paris Boulevard, we're a little bit more difficult. We're not being impossible, we're just a little bit more difficult about what goes on Paris. And so I think veneer and colors are going to make a lot more, we're going to be really tough on people on Paris Boulevard because of that reason. But I think the idea, this idea and concept is long overdue. And I think, I don't know, it's going to set the tone probably for the rest of the development, which is way behind in developing. But the Walmart eventually, wherever that something happens to that, that's another story. But I think I like the idea and concept of drive-through and the trellis. These are novel ideas. We need those kind of things, and that just adds an extra. If you want to sit there, even have benches eventually, maybe having just sit inside there, people can walk that way and walk through there. So it becomes more of a spot too. You know, not necessarily everybody to congregate, but you can walk through that as visually something that's enhancing. And I don't think we have that anywhere else. I don't think so. So I like that concept too. So it's a good job on staff. The color thing, I defer to Liz because she's the expert on it. But again, I like the idea of brighter colors, and I like the idea of bright colors. So I mean, you can work with her, work with staff, whatever. But I don't have any problem with this project. I think it's a good concept. You meet all the things have been captured. I didn't ask a lot of questions because I read through it. So if there's not a lot of questions, it must be a decent project. But I appreciate. Our resident architect may have more issues, but I think it's on face value. It's well done, and I think it's because the city, based on us getting on their butts, right, has a better plan, and it's much more architecturally sound and more pleasing. And so I think we've raised the bar. And I think our new commissioners are starting to see we've raised the bar pretty high. But thanks, we appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
I do agree with the commissioners on the building and design. I think it's well suited and well needed for this corridor along Paris Boulevard. It does bring the issue of what we do here and sets the precedent of whenever the new tenants and whenever perhaps other areas of the site will get partitioned off as well. That's quite a possibility maybe, but when and whenever it does occur that the other buildings need to be updated at some point in time whenever the owners feel it's necessary, that these will set the precedents for the existing buildings at that time. It needs to be, at some point in time, it needs to be done for competitiveness of the area to compete with the new Walmart shopping center. It would have to be done at some point in time. And there's other places around the city, down the road on Paris and Morgan Street, that have improved their vision of their sites, and there's areas that are doing better as well. So doing these two parcels, subdividing these two parcels, and the buildings that's going to be on here, is definitely going to be setting the precedence and hopefully lighting the fire to update the whole site. So that's all I have. If there's any other further discussion, let us know. If not, if we can have a motion. We have a motion from Vice Chair Hammond. We need a second.
Before you do that, do we need to include, that was a staff report, right?
Yes,
Or conditions of approval where you talked about 21 spaces?
22A.
We don't need to do, we should just clean it up in the staff report. It's
Okay.
not,
It's not part
because it
of
meets the requirement, but we'll clean it up in the staff report. I don't think you need to make a motion
Right,
for that.
right.
You can just mention, we'll just clean that up.
Okay, okay.
We just need a second.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to clarify for the record, the motion, it's a motion to approve. Would that also include the additional condition of approval relating to the reciprocal access that staff handed out?
Yes, sir, it would.
Oh.
22A.
No, this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't in there.
That's you want?
Yeah.
It needs to be added in there.
Oh, yeah.
So the motion would be to approve with the inclusion of this
Correct.
this condition.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay.
May we have a second?
I second.
We have a second from Chair Jimenez. Excuse me, Commissioner Jimenez.
I got
liked it.
promoted.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With the vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
I have a coup, right?
Double promotion. Right, thank you. Item 8, no business items at this time. If we can go to item 9, any member of the public wishes to address the planning commission regarding items not on the agenda, we do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Move it to item 10, commissioner members' announcements and reports. Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any reports or announcements?
No, no items to report.
Commissioner Jimenez?
We've been staying safe. Our family has continued to just stay at home. We've been wearing our masks. I actually went to the Ulta and did curbside pickup because, I needed to go. And I love that they had curbside. I got there, I called, they brought my items out to me. They put them in the trunk. It was really quick and easy, but it was a great way to get what I needed to get done and still be safe. It's going to be 4th of July weekend. I want to just encourage everybody to continue to stay safe and as much as possible maintain those guidelines that have been set forward and make sure that we stay safe not only for ourselves, but for our friends and families. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hammond?
Yes, and I agree with her. And I have one recommendation though for an agendized item, and there's obviously a caveat to it as if we have the time. I think we need to discuss multifamily housing because you're mandated to do it, but because we need to start talking about that being a priority in the city of Paris. It is not now. I said 2 or 3 years ago, the state was going to start coming down and they want lots of units. So we're going to have to start looking at, it may mean a workshop as opposed to a person or somebody that's an expert in the area. At least I've had in the past. I think it would be nice for our new commissioners to have that as well, and more of a discussion. So we can discuss what, not just a particular project, but multifamily projects, what they cost, condominiums, townhomes, what that would look like. What are some examples out there? We're not going to have CRA funding anymore, so it's hard to get now because market value. So what is the advantages, disadvantages? So I know we're planning a tour, but I think you need to really discuss that and make it a priority because that's within our purview. That is directly within our purview. The housing element, whatever. I think we need to, there are lots of areas in Paris that have, in the original specific plans, like down south, those are never going to happen with 2,000, 3,000 homes. They're not going to build that. But if you start having we talked about the vehicle miles traveled, we talked about distances, we're going to have to start looking at areas in general as to what can be done or what we need to do or what does the city need to do in terms of economic development and maybe meeting with, looking at, I don't think you guys have ever seen the general plan, the big giant general plan map, because I've got several copies of things where you look at the areas and where they're currently zoned for R6000, R5, in the general plan sense, what does that mean or what does that need to be updated, or what is the city doing through its economic development to start encouraging incentives, things like that, so that we have this building. I'm not talking about always low-cost apartments. I mean, some upper level, so we need some management level stuff. You got a lot of retail, they got all these people, but eventually over time, when this COVID thing eventually goes away, you're going to have to start attracting managers, you're going to have to start attracting people and millennials in those kind of places. So I'm just saying, overall discussion from you guys' expertise, from your economic development team, maybe they have plans. They still haven't built the senior housing thing down south. Is senior housing a direction to go in general? Ultimately, the council decides, but I mean, we need to start at least a workshop saying with some ideas, what are some things and projects that are out there that would probably fit in Paris, the types of buildings. We're limited by stories because we can't build everything in the airport zone, so what limitations are there, but what about the outskirts over like where I live? North of here, some of these specific plans are 20-some, almost 30 years old, and never going to build them. Okay, I'm telling you now, it's never going to happen. So what about infrastructure issues? So I'm almost giving them the presentation. So you see what I'm saying? It's going in a direction where we're moving in a direction to really benefit the council. We don't have an intermediary goose. We don't have committees, so it really becomes us. So, what kind of architecture, what kind of things we looked at. When Dr. Williams was here, we had that, what do you call that thing, charrette. They came with a lot of ideas. Some of them were crazy. But the idea is, this is one of those things that we're going to have to get in conjunction with the state. So we're going to look at what's reasonable. What do we have currently, other than over by Barrett? The only condominium project in the city that I know of is by Barrett. And I think those are all sold out. So what are we going to need to do moving forward, and also to do the vehicle mile travel thing, so we're not having people have to go long distances to go to stores, and master plan communities may have to be looked at. All that in conjunction with that housing element, multifamily. That's the only time I'm going to speak that long, but I think that's such an important topic, and we don't want to keep skirting that topic because eventually we're going to have to face it. And that's my opinion. I'm just bringing it forward to the rest of the commission. I think it might be advantageous to have a discussion and a workshop just on that issue. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot said and very important to us as well. We're actually potentially looking at going to some areas. If that can't be done, maybe we can do someone can do a presentation for us, or virtual tour that we can look at doing as a sidebar to that if we can't actually go to physical sites, which would be helpful for us to get off the ground on that. It is an issue that's going to be coming up pretty fast with all the miles driven and that aspect and stuff. So it's something that we could need to get on moving forward to see. I don't have any additional announcements. I just hope that everybody can be safe, wear the mask when necessary, be safe, especially for the 4th of July, and take care of the families. And remember that it doesn't matter who it is, everybody can get sick at any time. You just, any hugs, kisses, and all that stuff can spread it to your elders, which are have a harder time surviving the virus if they contract it. So just be safe and thoughtful of your neighbors and your other community individuals. Thank you. And then if we can go to item 11, Director's Development Services Reports.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman Shively and members of the Planning Commission. I appreciate your feedback, Vice Chairman Hammond. Those are very good feedback. We should have kind of a workshop at some point. Just want to let you know that we're working at scheduling a date for the tour. Hopefully everybody can, I think it's very productive actually to actually go on the tour, to actually see it in person. I think it gives us a better visual of what can be accomplished and what it would look like if we actually approve certain types of projects. So we'll be coordinating. Hopefully we can do it sometime in July. So we want to accomplish that because we have some projects coming up. Just for your knowledge, the Green Valley, we had an ad hoc meeting with two of the commissioners, and there will be a multiple family component to that project. And so we do want, as we head to that point, we want to show you what is happening out there. And so when you get to the meeting, you get to review the project, you want to make sure that, we're on, you know what this will kind of look like. We want to see sites that are similar to those concepts that are being proposed. We are working on the housing element. We need to go to council to get authorization for the appropriate funding for it and to authorize a consultant. Once we have that, we'll have the resources to kind of walk through the costs that you mentioned, infrastructure. Those would be all part, hopefully that'll be all part of that process. We have the funding to cover all those issues that you brought up, so we'll kind of see the realistic possibility of what that means if we do this type of project, and do we have the infrastructure there? If it's not there, we might have to wait some time, but those are very good comments. We are working on that. It just takes some time to get there, but we are working, hopefully, to start the housing element probably. The goal is September, October, just for your timeline, and then hopefully I get it adopted probably summer of next year. So that's the tentative time frame at this point. Other things I want to just mention, as you're aware, Steve Perez is not here tonight. If it's not part of the roster, he officially resigned from his position, so he's no longer with us. In terms of bringing another individual on, that's up to the council. We'll figure that out within the next couple of months, what's going to happen there. Just want to let you know that. As you're aware, we nominated the the chair of the Planning Commission and the vice chair, and the year is up, so just want to put that thought in your head. Next meeting, we'll kind of decide who will be the chair and vice chair for the following year, so just think about if you want to take on that role, or you want to, if those who are not, and of those who are currently in that role, whether you want to continue on. So just want to throw that out there for you to consider. Other thing I just want to just mention to you is that the governor issued a executive order today, which pretty much effectively closes down all indoor dining, I believe, for the next 3 weeks. The city is going to just issue a public service announcement. We're working on that right now to allow restaurants to have outdoor dining. It will be subject to just a site plan approval. We'll have an application, but there will be no fees associated with it. We're just trying to figure out the stipulations for that. Hopefully we'll be able to issue that tomorrow and make it part of the city's website. But the tentative plan is that, the seating needs to provide ADA access if they're going to be in front of a walkway in front of a shopping center or in the sidewalk, and to make sure that there's separation of 6 feet between tables. So we're working on that, and just as you talk to the community, as you know, people want to go to a restaurant and they're technically not able to dine in, I think, effectively of today or tomorrow, or it could be this weekend. It's all new today, and the article and newspaper, the press got released this afternoon. So we're still looking into what that stipulation states. But other than that, we just want to mention that we will have a planning commission on July 14th. So just put that on your calendar and just be ready and be here for that meeting. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer any of those questions for you at this point. Yeah, the 15th. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm totally on board with the tour. So I think Liz did respond. I don't think you had responded. I think, I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, I'm totally on board with the tour. You've got to visualize. You've got to see projects. We can sit distances, whatever we have to, right on top of the van if we have to. But yeah, but that's something you've got to see is multi. You have to see examples because you're never gonna. They're gonna come at us. I have a feeling they're gonna be coming at us quickly. And if you don't have ideas and concepts, like when I've been on so many tours, I can't even count. Even Temecula, I don't know what you're going to show in Temecula. They're all rich people. but but Temecula, Harvest Landing, when it first came out, then we ended up with a Harvest thing over here. So, but we had a concept when they were building it, when they put the lake in. So we had the concept by seeing it visually. When they came here for this project, we already were beating them up and say, yeah, we went down there and saw that. We went to Rancho Mirage down there, saw the project, saw the lake. When you see it visually, then you have much more expertise as opposed to looking at something drawing. You saw what works, what doesn't work. So it's very important to see projects visually, stand in front of it. And sometimes you get a tour and they say, oh, this works, this much better. It really is really worth it, but I appreciate it. So if that date's okay, I'm fine, but put me on. Thank you.
If no further comments, if we have a motion for adjournment. Everybody's good.
I motion.
Yeah, we don't need one. We just pick two people.
Yes, we go.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.
Stay safe, Liz.
You too. See you all soon.
Can he call you Liz, or can I call you Liz?
Yeah.
That's only planning commission.
Right. Only you.